Hey everyone, welcome back to the Adventure Channel. Have another important update regarding housing is key in LA County. This is in regards to the LA County rent moratorium and eviction protections. Now, as far as I know, and based upon the article that came across today, this only applies to SoCal and LA County. This does not apply to San Diego, Northern California, or anywhere else. As far as I know right now, this only applies to LA County. So here we have LA County extends eviction protections. Here's what it means for local renters. And I'm going to give you guys some additional information here. I'm also going to put this link for this article in the video in the comment section below. But as you guys know, I've been covering this situation now. I've been staying on top of it for the past year and a half right now. But renters and housing advocates on August 2020 protests, that's actually what this is. But as you guys know, in my last video, I said that housing is key was ending January 31st for new applicants. I still believe that is still going forward. However, the entire thing, I believe it was just going to end. I remember that the extension was also granted. If you already grandfathered in, you already had an existing application, you were pretty much good to go. However, as of just 2 days ago, LA County's Board of Supervisors voted Tuesday to extend countywide eviction protections through the end of this year. The board also continued a freeze on rent hikes for many tenants in unincorporated parts of the county. Under the new rules, landlords will not be able to evict low-income tenants hurt by COVID-19 over non-payment of rent until at least 2023. However, the approval plan will begin to gradually phase out other renter protections later this year. Again, doesn't really specify housing is key, but considering housing is key is probably part of this. So I would just, make sure you guys are up to date on your P's and Q's. Housing advocates supported the move, arguing that without an extension, struggling renters would have been vulnerable to eviction as early as Tuesday, February 1st. It's a recognition by the county that this pandemic is not over and that we can't simply eliminate all the protections, said Jonathan Jager, an attorney with the Legal Aid Foundation of Los Angeles. You know what? Let me go ahead and click on this really quick. I want to see what legal aid does. I know one of my principal contacts, I believe legal aid might be the attorneys for housing is key. So I'll probably do a follow up with this, but I'll cover that here at the end of this video. Landlords strongly protested the extensions, of course they do, urging a swift return to pre-pandemic rules. They said property owners have shouldered the cost of tenants deferring rent for close to 2 years now. That's not true. Housing is Key has been paying most of that for a lot of people and will potentially do so for up to almost another year under the new rules. The supposed interim emergency measures imposed by the county have gone on way too long and must now be replaced with long-term workable solutions based on our situation that is in existence today, said Daniel Yokelson, executive director of the Apartment Association of Greater Los Angeles. The new rules will add yet another layer of complexity to the ever-shifting local and state renter protections passed during the pandemic. Let me go ahead and click on this really quick. All right, we remember all this. Here's what all the new changes mean for LA County renters. Let's see here. I want to make sure we click on this. LA County's current tenant protections were slated to expire after January 31st. Okay, so yeah, that was correct. That part, obviously. With Tuesday's vote, those provisions will continue, including rules barring no-fault evictions. Those no-fault evictions occur when tenants have done nothing wrong, but landlords want to remove them to do things like conduct extensive renovations, move in family members, or take units off the rental market. Without an extension of the current protections, renters across LA County could have soon found themselves kicked out of their homes, said Trinidad Ocampo, an attorney with Neighborhood Legal Services of LA County. Again, I believe this is the legal foundation assisting people with housing is key. They know their stuff. I already know of a few individuals who have had attorneys speak to their landlords. The conversations weren't too pleasant, but the lawyers put those landlords on notice. So they've been taking care of business. We might have seen a wave of those evictions happening, she said, but those tenants now have a defense to say that, well, this no fault eviction is not permissible until later in the year. The extension also continues rules against evictions over tenant nuisances or unauthorized occupants and pets. Starting in June, landlords will again be able to pursue certain no-fault evictions, such as owner move-in evictions under limited circumstances. Coming April 1st, eviction protections return for those who can't pay rent. Perhaps the most significant change will be the return of LA County's ban on evictions over non-payment of rent. This protection already existed earlier in the pandemic, but late last year, changes in state law superseded the county's rules. Let me take a look here. Let's scroll down. Since October 21st, landlords have been able to pursue evictions over non-payment of rent with one important caveat. State law provides eviction protections those who've applied for rent relief. So if you guys just catching up on this whole program, even though that whole eviction thing was still going forward, however, the landlord would still have to take somebody to court, and whenever they get a court date, the judge would ask the person, do you want to apply for housing as key or apply for rent relief? And then, of course, the person would have to, as well as the landlord, before the judge could do anything. So you still had an opportunity to apply for housing as key and rent relief, even if they tried to evict you, and there was still nothing the lawyer could do. So it was still a standstill. And then, of course, once housing is key gets involved, if the person decided to apply, that was the tricky part. The person still doesn't have to tell the landlord if they applied for housing as key or not, because it's considered a privacy act. So, yeah. So, I mean, really, a landlord would go out, get an attorney trying to evict somebody or whatever. They still couldn't do anything because, and not even the attorney could sequester or subpoena that information to find out if somebody really applied, even if the judge ordered them to. So, yeah, that's where it was standstilling. With Tuesday's vote, LA County is now set to reinstate the earlier stronger protection against eviction over non-payment of rent starting on April 1st. Housing advocates said renters who lost income during the pandemic's need that protection to know they won't be facing potential homelessness in a few months. In our work, we know a lot of tenants are continuing or counting on this protection in order to stay in their homes, said Alex Flores, an eviction attorney with LA-based Housing Rights Center. And I agree with this to a certain extent. I mean, I definitely understand a lot of landlords and stuff, but you just got some crummy ones out there that were just trying to put people out on the streets. You know, they didn't care about any of this stuff. The only thing they wanted was their money. Changes coming on June 1st during phase 2. The county will roll out its protections in phases. The eviction protection for non-payment of rent will return for all county renters on April 1st. But starting on June 1st in phase 2, that protection will only apply to renters earning up to 80% of the area's median income. In LA, that's $94,000 per year for a family of 4. To claim this protection after June 1st, tenants will need to self-certify that they meet the income requirements. So that's pretty cool. Starting June 1st in phase 2, the protection will only apply to renters earning up to 80% of the median income. All right. Also starting in June, landlords can once again evict tenants for denying entry into an apartment. Yeah, that's always standard. Earlier in the pandemic, county leaders wanted to limit interactions between households to stop transmission of COVID-19, but that restriction goes away in phase 2. However, the county's new rule state landlords can't use the right to enter units for the purpose of tenant harassment. There's been a lot of that going on, and don't forget that there is a $10,000 penalty for tenant harassment. So if you have a landlord harassing you, it's a $10,000 offense. Like I said before, it's like a walking bank. Rent freeze continues for many tenants in unincorporated LA County. The Board of Supervisors also approved a continued freeze on rent increases for tenants living in rent control housing within unincorporated parts of the county. Tenants covered by that rent freeze will not receive a rent hike until at least 2023. Let's see what else we got here. This provision matches a similar rent freeze. This provision matches a similar rent freeze in the city of LA, which currently has its own tenant protections in place. Those protections will continue for city residents since the county's rules allow for stronger protections to take precedent at the city level. Housing advocates have argued that continued tenant protections are needed in part because government rent relief has been slow to reach households in need. And, keep in mind, too, a lot of people have been losing their jobs due to COVID because a lot of people don't want to get the shot. And a lot of people, and, I was talking to one of my friends today, and from my understanding, what I've been told is one of the reasons why a lot of officers and firefighters and other people who work on the county decided to walk off their job and quit is because the county is making people pay $500 a month to go get shots or not shots, I'm sorry. If you didn't want to get vaccinated, you had to pay $500 a month for testing. And they only had one place they recommended or mandated where you could get that official testing. So imagine you're working for the county, you're a police officer, fire, or you do anything with the county. That mandatory testing that you had to do, you had to pay $500 a month, which was $256 per week that would automatically come out of your paycheck. So add that to your additional expenses. So this is one of the reasons why in LA County I believe they decided to do this because they got some outrageous rules right now. So again, that was only for people who didn't get vaccinated with that mandatory testing. So there's a lot of stuff they don't tell you in the news. We don't want to reach early April and have tenants being evicted en masse while we're still waiting for the relief to come through, said Flores. Landlords are frustrated by the slow delivery of rent relief. Supervisor Catherine Barger cast the lone no vote on the extension. Oh, she cast a lone no vote on the extension, saying the plan gives landlords no clear end in sight. After the vote, she introduced a motion asking for the county to explore the possibility of forgiving or postponing property tax payments for landlords who aren't receiving rent as a result of the eviction moratorium. It has become clear to me that our county does not have enough skin in this game, Barger said. This board is asking landlords to shoulder a burden for those who have been impacted by COVID-19. We should also be willing to bear the same burden. And that's true. So before I continue with this, one of the things I definitely wanted to say, besides the lawyers finally getting on top of it, years ago I had a house, I was living on my own. And, I thought about renting. I had a 3-bedroom house, and I thought about renting out maybe one of the rooms at least. And then one of my coworkers was like, hey, man, if you rent it out, you have commons area. Now, I have a lot of electronics and stuff. I have some big screen TVs and stuff. And I wasn't used to that whole terminology. I was like, what do you mean commons area? Like the living room and stuff. He was like, yeah, if you have your TV and stuff in the living room, that's free for all for everybody. And you can't tell people who can come over and who can't. You didn't have control over stuff like that. And I said to myself, after they told me some additional information, then I started reading all the laws on eviction. If you have somebody who's not paying and you try to put them out and you move, you have to put their crap in storage somewhere. You have to legally pay to put their stuff in storage. When you move out, you have to properly serve them and do all that other kind of stuff. So I said, you know what? This isn't for me. I don't know who would want to do that, who would want to rent out rooms and stuff like that. It's not for me. I was just somebody going to work. I had some extra room, thought about it, sounded like a great idea. But I like my space, and I don't like going through the hassle of anything. I mean, could you imagine renting a place, or I was actually buying a house, extra space, and then you have to put somebody's stuff in storage if you decide to move and pay for it for what is it, 6 months, a year? I mean, that's what it was at the time. So I said all that to say this. I think a lot of landlords pretty much got into this because they wanted to make money. They saw it as a profitable thing, but they forgot that all housing and rent, they're not like customers or tenants aren't customers that come into a store. You can kick them out whenever you want to. They've always been protected by city, state, and federal legislation. They have not been people or a commodity for you to do with them as you please. And I think that's kind of what we lost sight about. And I realized that, when I was talking to my buddies about renting out a room and stuff in my house, I was like, bump that. Like, who wants to do any of this? If I rent out a room, I got to pay for somebody's storage. and properly evict them. And if I don't pay for their storage, they could sue me because I didn't, take care of their property, even though I moved away from a place. It just seems like a hassle. And so I just think that a lot of people, primarily landlords, got involved in this situation and lost sight of all of this, knowing that tenants have always been governed by the federal government. If you have a disability or, harassment, has always been the case. But I think COVID-19, what happened back in 2020, just really shed light on all of these situations. I mean, it's not brand new, so again, right now everything favors tenants, at least for the time being. But again, a lot of people got involved in this just to make some money. They didn't get involved in this because they care, unless you have your house paid for. You just had maybe a house somewhere. You just wanted to make a little extra income. But it's really shed light on what people are trying to do to others when things quickly aren't going their way. And a lot of landlords, as soon, I could tell you this, right after, what was it, Mayor Garcetti in LA said they were shutting down LA in 2020, a whole host of people started getting eviction letters. Like, it was like literally 3 to 4 days later, a lot of people started getting eviction letters right after they made that announcement because they started getting nervous. So it tells me that they really don't care too much about the well-being of people in that particular, case. They were just concerned about their investment. And that's all they've seen people as, is just more or less a commodity, not people. Definitely shout out to the landlords that are definitely doing things right. Weren't just trying to, put people out just right after things happen. But again, it definitely shines light on this, is that, if you got into this business and this is what you wanted to do, then all of this should have been kept in its proper perspective and not just a money gimmick scheme, raising rent and trying to put people out and doing whatever you want to do to somebody whenever you felt like it. If that was the case, you probably shouldn't have got into business, in this line of work. And, you can see now, if you're one of those landlords that are just like, yeah, I'll never do this again. You probably should have considered all this before you even got into the real estate business. I mean, I sure did. I mean, I used to have 2 homes. I had one in, what was that, Huntington Beach. I had a $2 million property in Huntington Beach, right around the corner from Paul Walker, right down the street from the boardwalk in Huntington Beach where the pier is. And I had another one in Santa Clarita. So again, guys, thank you guys for watching the channel. Hope you guys enjoyed this video and my commentary. Yeah, we didn't have any mic issues tonight because I'm using my other application. So you guys all have a good night. Catch you guys later. Peace. Bye-bye.